I'm honored to have Chief Master Sergeant Joe Bogdan here with me as my guest. Hello, Chief. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Chief? It's been a
Um,
long time.
it's been a while since we've seen each other or talked to each other because you make a lot of money now and you're traveling the whole world. I mean, going overseas, the Philippines, and on
Oh,
vacations, and getting married. And
yeah.
congratulations on your nuptials, by the way. I
Thank
can't
you.
remember. You haven't been married a year yet, have you?
No, it's actually we just hit our 2 year anniversary. It's been that
Two.
long since you and I talked. Yeah.
Wow, it has been.
Yeah.
It has been.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
your lovely bride is military as well.
She is. She's a senior master sergeant, dental flight chief here at Joint Base Anacostia Bowling.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
And so are you stationed there at the Anacostia? No, you're in DC at
Uh,
the Pentagon, right?
yep, I'm at the Pentagon. Yeah, I'm the chief of enlisted force development here at Headquarters Air Force.
Okay, very good. And how long have you been doing that?
Over a year now. I can't believe it. Like I know before we hit record, we were talking about how time seems to ratchet up faster. But yeah, I feel like I've only been doing this for about 6 months, but it's been about almost a year and a half now.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And total time in service?
Total time in service, I will be hitting 23 years in February. So just
Okay.
short of 23 years.
Yeah. And about 6 years as a chief.
Yes.
Okay. Now, how
Yeah,
many
almost.
assignments have you had as a chief?
As a chief, I've had, let me count, five. Yep, five assignments as a chief. I actually had four moves in the last 4 years. So
Wow.
so yeah, it's been a lot.
You just can't keep a job, can you?
No, I know. They keep on pushing me around. They keep on yeah, firing me and sending me
Yeah.
somewhere else.
And eventually we'll figure out what you're good at and keep you
Yeah.
there. Although you
I hope
already know
so.
that doesn't work that way. As soon as we figure you've got some experience, we'll
Yeah.
move you on to another job.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's okay. That's
Yeah.
a good life. The hard time when it is hard, I think, Chief, is when you have to carry. Now you got a little a baby puppy,
Yeah.
Marcus. Now you got
Yep,
to carry
Marcus.
him with you.
I know.
Before you and Joe could just hey, get in the car. We're PCSing, and now you got this little guy to go with you. So, but he's cute. So
Yeah.
you wait till you start having children, then it'll be
Yeah.
even.
Yeah.
I was gonna say better, but maybe not. So
Yeah.
anyway, first of all, thank you for taking the time because I know you're a pretty busy guy, especially working at the Pentagon, to talk about this lesson number two. You don't know everything in my chief's book, and sharing some of your ideas and thoughts and uh, your own lessons with our listeners and the primary group that we're talking to. I say that, and whoever's listening, but the young chiefs. And as young as you are, Joe, you're
Mhm.
not a young chief anymore, man.
Yeah.
Have you noticed there's white stuff in your hair? And
It's fuzz. It's fun.
sure it is. Yeah, we'll blame Marcus for that, right? But now you're one of the quote elders. So again, thank you for taking the time to do this. The whole lesson, you don't know everything, really is about listening and listening for the right things. There's a story that I share in the book about a lady, spouse, calling me when I'm the senior enlisted advisor to tell me that her kids are freezing, and I'm
Mhm.
thinking, how can they be freezing? This is the Air Force, right? And I'm the senior enlisted advisor at the time that we didn't have command chiefs. And I'm saying that's
Mhm.
not going to happen on my yard. And evidently CE had cut off their gas to
Mhm.
their quarters on base. So luckily, I make a call to Chief Garcia over at CE, and he says, "Oh, what? I'll go take care of it right now." So
Mhm.
you don't know everything. You as a chief, you think you know, and I don't know if there's an average number of people a chief leads lately nowadays, but it doesn't matter if you're not
Mhm.
listening for the right things. You're not going to know what you need to know, and possibly, how do we make decisions based on the information that we have?
Yeah, I think it's funny what you said that about Chief Garcia not knowing something that happened in the squadron, and I say this very often, and some of it's tongue in cheek, and some of it's honestly just truth. Is every stripe you put on, the likelihood of you getting fired for something you know nothing about it increases, right? Like I mean, there's so much stuff going on. You're overseeing more and more activities, functions. When I first took my first chief assignment, I was still a flight chief, really, and it was 400 people in just a flight.
Is
It was
that
a
right?
huge
Wow.
flight. Yeah, the flight would have been the third biggest squadron on the base, and And something that I always prided myself in, and I tell other people, and it kind of falls into this humility piece is, I've seen a lot of times where you're at a base where senior enlisted leaders will kind of throw rocks at each other about their organization not doing what they're supposed to do, or they could do it better, or whatever it might be. And I learned early on that there is somebody in my unit doing something they shouldn't be doing right now, and I don't know about it. Like right now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just impossible to know everything, and it's really important to, like you said, have strong lines of communication, processes in place to understand what's going on, and also trust with your team so that they're willing to bring things to you so that you do have a better idea. But the wiser I become, the broader the plane of my own ignorance I realize, like there's just a lot that you have to, that you really have to understand, that you're just not going to be a master of. You're not going to know everything. And I think that's a key point, because once you realize you don't know everything, like this lesson talks about, that's when you really start learning.
Well, it opens you up, just
Hmm.
just understanding cognitively that phrase that you don't know everything.
Hmm.
It opens you up to listen more and
Hmm.
better. And I think I've been retired a long time, Joe, as you already know. But back in my day, we taught chiefs to the term that we use, or the phrase that we used, is to work ourselves out of a job.
Hmm.
You take care of the seniors, teach them, they take care and teach the masters, and so on and so forth. Because you're right, you're not big. 400 people, there's no way you can
Hmm.
control in any way 400 people. There's no way. So you're going to have to rely on others to do pods, and if
Right.
let's say, in my culture we say, the number four is sacred. So if you lead four people who lead four people who lead four people, exponentially you're leading everyone in a way.
Hmm.
But you can't do it, and especially physically, you just can't do it. But I don't know if we're doing that anymore with the young chiefs. And as you know, part of the main reason we're doing this podcast is to help new chiefs who are wondering, how do I do this? I think I know, but I really don't know. So take some advice from some people who have been there and done a similar thing. Although, and that's one of my pet peeves, when people say, I've been there, I've done that.
Yeah.
No, you ain't. No, you
Yeah.
ain't. I think you're one of those really smart people that realize, no, you ain't. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
different. It's different.
Yeah.
The world is different. Everybody's
Hmm.
experience is different. And I think,
Right.
again, once you acknowledge that, that opens you up to understand, yeah, it's different. Yeah, I know what it was like when I went through it, but it's not
Hmm.
the same anymore. Technology, the world has changed, and the
Right.
speed of the world has changed. Um, so anyway, and you mentioning earlier that you've been married a couple of years. What we teach folks as in a profession of chiefs,
Hmm.
it doesn't, it's not just the profession itself, it's a lifestyle. I mean,
Right.
in your marriage,
Hmm.
have you been slapped upside the head yet, Joe?
Not
Because
yet,
that
not yet, but it's
hurts,
been
man.
close. No,
You,
I think you're right. And we are talking a little bit about coaching earlier. I think chiefs need to. The chiefs are great mentors typically already because they've experienced, right? And we talk about the nuanced differences in the coaching programs that the Air Force is taking on, and really, as a mentor, you can tell someone, "Hey, I've been here, I've done it." Although we just talked about, like, you probably didn't do it in the exact same river that this person's doing it in now, so you can give some advice, but coaching is more like helping them, right? And listening very well and asking them powerful questions to help them get to their solutions. And I think um, Chiefs should be at least get a three level on that, work at
yeah.
least get a three level on that. And I will tell you that as I became a coach, certified coach, that has bled into just what you're talking about being in my home life. And one time I was practicing coaching on my wife, and I didn't tell her, but I was practicing coaching on her. And she did reel me in a couple times in mentorship, like kind of asked me my opinion on things, but I was able to turn it back around. And afterwards, I asked her, I was like, "What'd you think about that?" And she said, and I explained to her what I was doing, and she said, "You were listening better. I
Oh,
felt like you were hearing me more
that's,
than on a normal occasion where maybe I'm in fix it mode."
yes.
And I think that it absolutely translates to both. work life as well as personal life, because in reality, us in the service, we don't really have a separate work life, home life. We can pretend like we do, but it's
Yeah.
just it's one life, you
It's just a
know.
different place.
Right.
It's the same life
Absolutely.
in a different place, the
Yep.
situation. Yeah. Well,
Hmm.
and as you say, I love that you use the F word, fix it.
Hmm.
As and now again, my perspective, being a few generations away from yours, the chief was always expected to fix it.
Hmm.
You know, you go to whomever, the supervisors, even the commanders.
Hmm.
I have no idea. Go talk to the chief because the chief will
Yep.
fix it. You know, he knows how
They
to
still
fix it.
say
She
that
knows.
now. They still say that now.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah.
But my sense is, and you know, and you use the H word, when you have humility, when you practice humility, you realize that you don't know how to fix it, and
Hmm.
probably shouldn't be the person to fix it. You know,
Hmm.
we've evolved from mentoring, which is based on telling,
Hmm.
now to, as you say, coaching, which is based on asking. How
Hmm.
do you get there? You know, let
Yeah.
me help you get there, make the decisions, make the
Hmm.
right choices, instead of me telling you how to do it. Because we've realized, I think, that if I tell you, you know, how to do everything, you'll never figure it out yourself. You'll just say, hey,
Yeah.
let's go to the chief again, like the old days. Let's go to the chief because he can fix it. Well,
Hmm.
that's there's no learning in that. You know, we need
Yeah.
to figure out how to fix this stuff. And I think it starts again answering the question for the young chiefs: how do I do this? You have to have that mindset. I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't
Right.
know. And if I do know, I need to back off and let you figure it out.
Right.
And then you own it and then go do it.
And if I do know, I might not know the best way still. Right. You might have even a better way. So I think really having that humility to there's a lot of things that Chiefs can fix, but is it always the best way to do it?
Yeah.
Because there's probably multiple ways, especially now leading. I feel like the generations are splitting more and more, and they're multiplying like gremlins. And there's like another generation that joins. You know, we're naming all these new generations. I'm like, I don't feel like that old that we have like four different generations below me now.
Yeah.
But you know, they're equipped differently, so maybe they do have a better way of doing it that we're not even tracking, and maybe we're doing it the archaic way. So I think that it's really important that humility of one, like you said, maybe we don't have, we're not equipped to fix that situation. We probably can, but maybe not the best way. But the other way is like you also mentioned, you know, if you keep on fixing it for everybody, what are they there for? You know, and
Yeah.
what wins do they get out of this,
Right.
and how do they continue to innovate? We get stuck in this weird cycle. So there is a time where the chief needs to roll up his sleeves and or her sleeves and get involved to the point where they might need to fix something. But that should be few and far between. It should be more in that mode where you're learning as well with your team.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I hear more and more, especially on social media, is the I call it out of the box thinking.
Hmm.
Don't People are always condemning the idea of that's the way we've done it. Now,
Hmm.
that's the way we've always done it. Maybe is not so good, but that's
Hmm.
the way we've done it. If you've done the due diligence and explored other ways, and this is the best way, that's
Hmm.
not bad, you know. But let's talk about officers for a few minutes, Joe. That's one of my favorite topics because I did
Yeah.
that for 20 years. I raised officers, but
Hmm.
somehow I think they're taught, and it's not institutionalized, but they've been taught that when they go into a squadron, fix it.
Hmm.
But fix what? That doesn't matter. Just fix. Put your footprint on it. Well, I think that's the term that they use. But if it doesn't need to be fixed, why would I fix it? You know, which is exactly what we're both saying. That who knows how to do it better? The followers, the troops, the guys,
Hmm.
the guys and gals that are doing the job. I remember when I was a senior enlisted advisor at Fairchild Air Force Base. The first year I was there, I don't you probably remember about the buff crash up there at
Hmm.
Fairchild, and we had a really bad shooting uh, at the same week up there. So a bad week, a bad couple of years when I was there. But the first year we had a lot of rebuilding, and we changed from ACC to AMC. Buffs left, 135s came in. It was chaos, huge chaos. But in the first year, General Velger was the boss, and he was a perfect guy because we had a lot of rebuilding to do, and we went through a lot of stuff. The second year, General Art Light came in, and this is I'm going to blow your mind because I don't think this has ever happened to you. And our listeners and viewers are going to say, that's never happened to me. General Art Light comes in and says, he brings the staff in together, and he says, we're not changing anything unless we have to. Whoa, whoa, whoa! What did you? I mean, all the colonels are lit. What? What did he just say? Because typically the new boss comes in, we change the color of all the buildings. We do everything. We change everything so that they can put their footprint on the base. But somehow they're taught that. So I think, okay, and let's shift from officers. I love officers, or else I wouldn't have done what I did. But now to the chiefs. Okay, so the new chief comes in. Are you going to change everything? Are you going to fix it now? Are you what is it, God's gift to mankind, and you have the answers, Chief Bogdan?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting perspective that people feel like they have to change something, and I think that you're probably right. I never really thought about it that way, right? But I think that there's something to honoring what people are already doing, right?
Exactly.
Honoring it and seeing it.
Exactly.
And I remember a good friend of mine, Dan Guzman, he's command chief up at J Bear right now, and he said something when I was talking to him. He said, a lot of times people like come into this position and then they either they do it purposefully or they do it inadvertently. Sometimes they trash the previous team of leaders or whoever was there doing whatever they were doing, and sometimes you inadvertently do it. Well, you purposely do it sometimes by talking trash about them, which is just a terrible character issue, right? But sometimes you inadvertently do it by not honoring the things that happen and assuming that everything's to be changed without really fully comprehending the foundations of what that was built on, right? And and I remember he had said, he said, it was their turn to lead. You have to like really understand that they had different circumstances than you were in, and this and that. You really got to look at that and realize you're not the savior here. But I think that people can have, especially as quickly as, like I said, I moved around 4 times in 4 years. I always think about those units, man. They had to have another leader come in, and they put in their philosophy and their thoughts, and there is some change fatigue that can happen. So it shouldn't be happen for the sake of change. It should be happening for the good of the unit, the mission, the people, right? So I think as a new chief walking in, if you have the mentality is I'm going to go in there and fix it without fully comprehending what the circumstances is, then you're wrong. You're just wrong. And I don't know why you'd be doing that unless you're trying to pad a resume or pad some stats like in a football game. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. I think that it does take some once again, we talk about humility, but in listening and understanding and some social intelligence and some emotional intelligence to fully comprehend that when you do those things, how that impacts the team, the people.
One of my and I have a lot of pet peeves. I'm old, so I can have a lot. I'm the older you get. I don't know if you know this, Joe, but every decade that get older, you can have 10 more pet peeves.
Okay. All
There's a
right.
rule in that.
Got
It's unwritten, but it's a rule nonetheless. But one of the things that bugs me is, number one, you're right, when they start changing all of a sudden and without asking, and
Mhm.
especially again, like I said a while ago, who knows this stuff better,
Mhm.
best? The people that are doing it, right? They're the ones that really do know. And padding your resume, the terms that you use,
Yeah.
they're. I think that culture is permeates
Mhm.
throughout business and other places, and one of the things that I think we need to be wary of in the military is that we're not a business, we're a profession, and it's different.
Mhm.
Even the terms that we use, that you young chiefs use, uh, enterprise. What is an enterprise? I think, wasn't that
The
like a
starship. Yeah.
spaceship? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I remember. And but
Yeah.
now we use terms that are business oriented, which may be okay. And this, I guess if you're transitioning into business, if when you're retiring and all that, that's maybe even better. But we're not a business. We went through that
Yeah.
I won't use some names because I don't want to be offensive to anybody, but we went through that where the Air Force was being turned into a business, and it
Hmm.
was terrible. It really, really sucked. We had to go back to being a profession,
Hmm.
and it got us back on the right track. But again, we have to be wary of that, and again, the new chiefs need to consider those things, and I think I don't know, Joe, as a chief, do you and again, you've been a chief for a while, but do you invest time in considering and thinking and maybe sharing with each other these things? You know, we keep it's because it's easy to measure, I think, the
Hmm.
doing. We can
Hmm.
measure the doing. You did not, did it well, did not do it, whatever. You can measure all that, but the being is a lot more difficult. The character part. Are
Right.
you the type of person that should be a chief? Or are you just doing those things? A super technician, and they make you a chief. Well, in my
Hmm.
experience, those people that got to make chief, who were super technicians, were not very good leaders, and you just dealt with that. You couldn't do
Yeah.
anything about it. Just wait till they retired or left or something.
Hmm. I think that there's conversations that happen on two different sides of that coin. Like one is like, hey, are we doing the right things as chiefs? I've been the best chiefs groups I've been in, we've had that type of conversation. Hey, what are we focusing our energy on? Are we just doing barbecues for say, I mean, like
Yeah,
or are we really being out there with the airmen and understanding what they're going through and experiencing things? Are we only going to the post office to help during Christmas? Or are we picking a random Tuesday to go and just really understand? You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? So I think, and the best one I'll straight up name it was in Spangdahlem. I've been a part of a couple of great Chiefs group, but the one I was in Spangdahlem was just top notch. It was just amazing. We did a lot of those things, and we had those hard conversations. On the other side of that coin, we've had those conversations about upcoming senior NCOs on whether or not they're exuding the character that we should be having as part of a chief corps, of our team. Um, or do they seem self-serving? I've had that conversation in a stratification conversation. This person is self-serving. I mean, it's very obvious. The records are
yeah,
great, but they're self-serving. They show it out there. I don't know if y'all are paying attention out in the yard, but they are very much that way. So having some of those conversations, I think, are vital. When I was younger, I think that's evolved my thought. When I was a younger senior NCO, I used to think everything should be objective. Everything should be objective. It's fair, this and that, and the four-letter word, fair. And then as I matured in my leadership, I think I realized, well, if everything needed could just be objective and black and white, what would my existence? Why do I exist?
right.
as with my experience and my quote unquote wisdom or whatever you want to call it, my experience and my understanding and things that the Air Force has trained me as a chief, if I'm not utilizing any of that in the intangible ways, then I really don't need to be here. You could just read whatever you need to make the decision that's black and
Yeah,
white. So, leadership is really in that gray area. Um, so I think that having those conversations about those intangibles, those character issues, because otherwise the board can see it down at AFPC on their own on the paper.
yeah,
Yeah, they can see that themselves. We're here to make sure we make that call
yeah,
here within
yeah.
our
Well, and,
responsibility.
and more importantly, I think, Joe, the followers can see it.
Absolutely.
You're not getting anything over on them. You
Hmm.
may think, yeah, I'm a real good actor. I'm going to put up this facade of being a great a man of character, a person of
Right.
character. They
Right.
can see through that. They're
Yeah.
not stupid. And
Right.
every generation has said this. The younger generations know way more than we ever did.
Hmm.
And that is true.
Right.
Your generation, now I don't know where you fit in, your generation L or something, and now we've exhausted the alphabet, so I don't know, we're going to go to Z1 and
Yeah.
Z2 or whatever it is. But it, it, you know every generation is smarter than the previous several, because the technology, just technology
Right.
itself,
Hmm.
and because of the technology, we experience more that even we don't experience. you know
Hmm.
i i i, I've heard youngsters, I'll say youngsters, younger people, talking about experiences that when I get into the conversation, I realize they've not done it. They've not
Hmm.
been there. They've watched videos. They've
Right.
been,
Right.
they Googled it or whatever it is, and that's not the same. I mean, you just got
Hmm.
back from being overseas not long ago.
Yep.
It's different.
Yeah.
The kimchi tastes different there than it does coming out of the HEB or whatever store you
Yeah.
get it, right?
Yeah.
So uh, totally different. But but anyway, all of that, and again, as a chief, I think you have to balance that.
Hmm.
Where are they in their experience? Where are they in their knowledge? And I think the chief has to be the bridge toward wisdom. You
Hmm.
connect those things, you compile those things, and figure out this is really, no kidding, the truth, and go that way. And again, the youngsters, I think the youngsters are looking for that. Again, I don't
Yeah.
hang out with them anymore. You have a lot better experience than I do, especially with what you're doing right now. But I think the youngsters are looking for that. We're looking for someone who is wise enough not to tell us, but to empower us. And empowering, it's not about helping. Empowering, you don't empower anybody. There's plenty of books about that stuff.
Hmm.
You cannot empower anyone. If you're a good leader, if you're a good chief, you inspire your followers to
Hmm.
empower themselves. Once
Right.
they own it, once they've done it, get away, back off, because they are going to blow your mind.
Yeah, and I like the way you brought up the word inspire, because back to tying it back to the humility piece and showing that you don't know everything. That's how you inspire somebody, realizing that you can be successful and not have to know every single thing. I think that I say this often. I say that there's some chiefs out there or some people out there that feel like they're so uh, that they need to impress people. Like, I know everything. I'm the smartest person in the room. I'm superhuman. I never cry or whatever, all these things. And really that's just impressing people, but it's not inspiring people because that's not human and it's fake. You're putting on a facade that's not true when you can show them the human side of things, that you don't know everything, that you need people's help. But you bring a lot to the table because of your experience and the reason why you got here, the skills and attributes. But they can do it too now. They can see it,
Yeah,
and that's what's inspiring. Like, you're showing them a future that they can possibly attain,
right.
right? And I think that's a key component to this idea where humility and confidence kind of overlap. There's that area where that's what chiefs need to have, that strike that perfect balance there.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm glad you use that word balance,
Mhm.
because the balance, when often we think of balance like the scales of justice, 50-50. You
Mhm.
had that picture in your
Yeah.
head,
Hmm.
50-50.
Hmm.
Well, that's not life. Whether
Nope.
it's in professionally, personally, it doesn't matter. It's not life. Balance is more like a balance beam. If
Hmm.
you probably
Right.
been on one, you're constantly jostling, you're moving your weight, things are happening so that you can stay on that thing.
Hmm.
And sometimes the family will be more important. Sometimes the
Yeah.
work will be more important. Oftentimes the work at 90% of the times, the followers are more important.
Right.
And you just got to jostle that constantly. It
Right.
changes constantly. And if
Hmm.
you can't do that, then you're going to fail, one way or the
Right.
other, you're going to fail. So, and you're right. As the followers realize that you're in the same boat as they are,
Hmm.
trying to stay on that beam, then
Hmm.
they'll follow you because you're human, and they'll trust you because you're human.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
And
wow, it'll be interesting to see what AI does.
yeah.
Eventually,
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
AI replace you, Joe? That's another topic, I guess.
I don't
But
know. AI cannot be as dumb as me at some things. They still need some of this ignorance out here in the life, in the
yeah,
world, to bring humor. But that teeter-totter thing, or balance beam thing you were talking about, I think, something that I've been really thinking about was, like, I talked about confidence and humility, right? And they both live in the same world,
yeah,
but there's times where you can be vulnerable and you need to be assertive and you need to show people strength, right? And there's times where at work you can be like, guys, gals, it's about the mission today. I know that we want to do some things that are more team building, but we got to get this mission done. And that teeter totter is going to move more towards that direction.
yeah,
With your family, sometimes it's going to be mission, and then sometimes it's going to be family time.
right,
Yeah, and it all centers around whatever that middle part of that balance is, that every chief needs to hone, and every person, I think, successfully needs to hone, is discernment.
yes,
When do you shift? Like, and that's something that we don't really talk about a lot, is we do need to discern between this is a time we shift. The people need a break, right?
Yeah, right.
They've been in surge operations for a while, and I know leadership wants the numbers, but they need a break. You
Yes.
have to be able to discern that moment.
Yeah.
My family needs me right now. I
Right.
know, the mission's never going to stop. My family needs me right now, or they may not be around after the mission's over. I need to have some discernment here, and I think that's a vital thing that we need to work on as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where the chief comes in often
Mhm.
to
Right.
support that uh, follower, that yes, they need the time, they need
Mhm.
whatever it is, resilience time. We
Mhm.
use that
Right.
word, it's a big R, and there's a program and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Well,
Mhm.
sure, that's fine, it's all good, but the most important thing is how do you apply it at
Mhm.
the level that people really no kidding need it. you know uh, uh, it's terrible when, and I know you agree, Joe, that it's terrible when someone goes to the extent that they take their life, that they're
Right.
so burned out that the
Absolutely.
only way out is suicide. That's terrible. But I think sometimes we're the culprits of that, because we don't do what you're talking about. We don't use
Mhm.
that discernment that, no, we need to back off right now. Now,
Right.
maybe if we're really not kidding at war, and it's
Mhm.
it's our last resort, well, that may be different. But if you can balance that out, give them time to do whatever. All of us too. We as leaders need to do the
Mhm.
same thing. Take the time. You know, hey, I can't think anymore. When you get to that
Right.
point where you can't think anymore, you need some time.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
whatever that may be. And we're human. We do need it. So uh, a lot of stuff going in, and it's mostly emotional
Yeah.
intelligence. I think, if
Mhm.
we don't deal with those things that we call the F word, the feeling, then
Mhm.
you're going to feel it.
Right.
There used to be an STP commercial. I don't know if you remember STP. It
I
used
don't
to
think.
be an oil additive that you stuck in
Oh, yeah.
the car
Mhm.
engine to make it
Mhm.
run longer. Supposedly, it was gummy and
Yeah.
everything. I don't think it worked.
Yeah.
But the commercial said, "Pay me now or pay me later."
Mhm.
Great, great thought. You either pay me
Right.
now or pay me
Right.
later. And that meant,
Yeah.
if you don't use this STP, you're going to have to get a new engine. So now you're going to really pay me. But
Right.
same thing with our people, that we can't run them to death, because they will
Mhm.
die. And God
Right.
forbid that I mean, no kidding, in
Yeah.
the real no kidding sense. So
Yeah.
anyway, some closing thoughts, Joe. You don't know everything, but maybe we need to
Yeah.
get T-shirts for all the chiefs.
Yeah.
Say
Yeah.
you don't know everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they
Yeah.
wouldn't read it, right? They'd have to look
What
at
is
the.
it? Yeah, no, you don't know nothing.
You don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Closing thought. First of all, I just want to say thank you for doing this. I know I talked to you about it a little bit before we hit record, but when I was a brand new chief select, I was hungry for some development, leadership, and someone tell me what I'm supposed to do as a chief. Like I was looking for both the tactical level, like this is what you do, as well as some of the general leadership from wise chiefs, and I didn't necessarily get it like I thought I would, and then I found this handbook, and it was called the Chief's Handbook. I was like, oh, this is it. I'm gonna read this thing, and it's going to tell me what to do. And then I opened it up and it told me how to get an assignment. And I was like, okay, this is
Oh,
not what I was looking for.
oh
It
my.
guides all the assignment rules for Chiefs. And I was like, okay, well, that's different.
Yeah.
So I really am grateful that you wrote the book, that you share it, that you give so much of yourself, and then you also take the time to do these podcasts. So anytime that you ever need anything from me, I'm always here for you. And I guess parting thoughts for the audience, whoever's listening, especially these new chiefs, I would say, I heard this, I didn't make this up, I've heard this, but I recite it all the time, is treat your newly found responsibilities as a platform and not a pedestal. It is a platform for you to influence more broadly and change people's lives for the better, and to help our airmen and guardians be able to, like, properly serve, honorably serve in the greatest profession,
Yeah.
in such an honorable, a noble profession in defending our great nation. I think it's so vital, and take that responsibility. Don't take it lightly. It's extreme. But make sure you take care of yourself. But don't treat this thing. Don't look for your parking lot the first time you get to your building. You
Yeah,
know, don't look for your DV pass into the locker room at the gym. I am fine. Those are pedestal things.
exactly.
You know, to remember it's a platform. It's that responsibility to serve everyone else, and part of serving everybody is also instilling discipline. Don't forget that part too,
Indeed.
making sure, because disciplined people are more effective people. So
Indeed.
those are my thoughts.
Indeed. Great. Thank you, Joe. Great party thoughts. I can't do better than that. So I better shut the machine off. The AI is going to shut me off anyway. But thank you so much, Chief Joe Bogdan. God bless you, brother. And we'll stay in touch. I don't know
Yeah.
what's going to happen with this podcast. I'm hoping that it'll generate more discussion, especially with the youngsters. And you're still young there, so it may be a thing where we start bugging you more often because
Yeah.
we want your wisdom. So
Yeah.
we know how
Absolutely.
to reach you. There's an
Sounds
app for
good.
that.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. God bless you too.
Thank you.